Season 4. We're finally on the final Adventure Time season 4. That's not counting the Distant Land spin-off series and the upcoming Fiona and Cake spin-off series, which I will do, obviously. I will do at this point. I am a big fan of Adventure Time at this point. All thanks to a beautiful cam model. It's amazing what cam models can do. You know, get you into cartoons, get you into Adventure Time. Amazing. My favourite episode in this entire season was I Remember You. It was an absolute fantastic episode. Worst episode was Dream of Love, which I'll get into in a minute, but the worst episodes, more so the episodes I didn't like, was Web Weirdos. It was just basically a spider couple falling out. It was like a spider counselling session, and it just didn't work out in the end. It was just, and the end of the episode where they obviously explain, you know, pregnancy and childbirth, and you know, the female spider just shitting out her babies. You know, I really just didn't need to see that shit. I didn't really want to see a spider give birth. And the episode really just drags on. It's just boring. You know, Finn and Jake spend half of the time in a web. It's boring. I'll come on to my least favourite episode in a minute, but the next episode, You Made Me, Jesus, that was terrible. That was a terrible episode. That was, again, Lemongrab returning to the Candy Kingdom, wants some candy people, some candy peeps for his Lemon Kingdom because he's lonely. And this also sees the creation of the second Lemongrab. The only difference between this Lemongrab and the other Lemongrab was that this Lemongrab is more nicer, a bit more kinder in spirit, less of a dictator. In fact, the only differences you'd see between the two Lemongrabs is when we get to season 5 or 6, in which he wears a black attire and the other one wears a white attire. That's the only way you can tell them apart. Eventually there would only become one Lemongrab, and he would still wear his black shit, although be less of a dictator type. Who would win? That was just basically Finn and Jake fighting this monster called the Farm, and they fall out, and they realise they can't do it together. They can't do it as one individually, so they team up and they beat the shit out of the Farm. Just a bit stupid, nonsensical, unnecessary episode of the show. But it's not. It pales in comparison to Dream of Love. Dream of Love is the worst episode in the series, in my opinion. I know there's other worst episodes out there. I know James 2. A couple of the Beamo episodes are not exactly the best of Adventure Time. There's a lot of episodes in Adventure Time that you could say are pretty bad. But Dream of Love is fucking dog shit. It's basically Tree Trunks and Mr. Pig. The entire episode is just them wanting to make out in public. It's literally just, oh, I love you, mwah, mwah. It's literally just, let's just snog out in front of people. The episode. Let's just have a fucking lip lock in front of everyone. It's annoying. It's an annoying episode. And in the end, they tried to split them up. It kind of reminds me similar to one of the regular show episodes where, although it's a bit more heartbreaking than that, between Muscleman and Starla. Similar kind of feel to this episode though, but not as bad. But Dream Love was just fucking god awful episode. It really was the worst Tree Trunks episode, in my opinion. It's literally just them trying to snog around in public. I mean, it's alright. you know, expressing your love in front of people and all that shit. But you know, it's just played off for just ridiculous lengths. They just make out in front of everything, even at the most inappropriate at times. It's just not for me, not for me. And that brings us on to the episodes in the decent category. In Your Footsteps, Hug Wolf, which I actually really liked. Finn getting turned into a werewolf, but he just wants to hug instead of, you know, kill them. Princess Monster Wife, which sees Ice King make a hybrid of all the princesses. Bubblegum, Slime Princess, Turtle Princess, LSP, all of them combine into one. They're all voiced, I believe, by every single one of the princesses themselves. So yeah, that's in there. In Your Footsteps. That one was just the bear episode. It introduces the Lich in the snail form, which, yeah, it's pretty decent, but it's not a good Lich episode at all, in my opinion. There's better in the prior seasons, and when we get to Distant Lands, it'll be even more cool. Goliad, pretty average episode. Just Goliad rebelling against being this defender and nice person. So Princess Bubblegum makes a rival to Goliad using Finn's DNA. Gotcha. Gotcha was just LSP going undercover, working on this book, and it was okay. There's nothing to it. Card Wars, which introduces Card Wars, which is obviously a big parody on, and a bit of a piss take on card games like Magic the Gathering, and even Pendleton Ward's biggest inspiration, Dungeons and Dragons. A bit of a piss take on that, and a nice piss take as well on it. A pretty decent episode in which Finn and Jake becomes almost obsessed to this game, whilst Finn just tries and uses logic throughout the entire thing, and that's how he actually beats Jake. But eventually I think Jake does win in the end. I mean, it's his speciality, it's his game, so why not? BMO Noir, it's just a parody on noir type episodes in cartoons, except every character is voiced by Nikki Yang, also best known for her work as BMO and Lady Rainicorn in Adventure Time. Just a pretty average BMO episode that really goes nowhere, and the only other thing that kind of intrigued me was BMO saying to Nepta, "You are not like me," or "You are not, you know, welcomed enough yet, or accepted enough yet." In fact, BMO would actually say that as well when we get to Elements. He'd actually say the opposite of what he would say in BMO Noir about Nepta. So it's clear that they get along, and this is obviously the first instance of Nepta and BMO interacting with each other. BMO Noir. Lady Peebles or Pebbles or whatever. That was the one. That was the one where Lady Rainicorn and Princess Bubblegum have to fight and save Finn and Jake from the returning Ricardio, who wants to marry Bubblegum. They've been missing for 3 weeks. Yeah, it is what it is. Just average enough. Ignition Point, which was episode 22, also known as the 100th episode of Adventure Time. This was pretty good, in a way. Has some good elements to it, but yeah, again, just kind of falls flat a bit for me. This is, of course, the season where we properly get introduced to Flame Princess, who is featured in the season 3 finale. Very well done to hide the Flame Kingdom for most of the season to the series. Actually, I mean, we only get introduced mainly to the Candy and Ice Kingdoms throughout the entire series. Very rarely did we venture into the Slime Kingdom. In fact, Elements is the only elements, and the episode where Finn and Slime Princess have to fight for love is the only time we ever see the Slime Kingdom in full fashion, and we do get to see a lot more of the Fire Kingdom in the series. Not just the corrupted Fire Kingdom, in fact we get to see every corrupted world in the Elements mini-series, but we get to see a lot of the base Flame Kingdom and meeting characters like the Flame King, Flame Princess, Flame Bow, Cinnamon Bun later down the line when he gets reformed, and Bun Bun, of course, you can't forget about Bun Bun. Ignition Point, it's basically just Finn and Jake getting into the Flame Kingdom, and they're doing a quest for Flame Princess, which is to get a scented candle from the Flame King, but they realise that they discover that there's a plot to kill the Flame King. So, and it's very much a parody, I guess, of Abraham Lincoln's death, you know, going to the theatre and someone's going to murder you. And yeah, they do thwart it in the end. And Finn basically says to Flame King, I can reform your daughter, you know. What if I can reform your daughter? Would that mean she's good? And Flame King's like, yeah, sure. Like, he doesn't question it from here on out. It just makes no fucking sense, considering he was very defensive on Finn and Jake trying to get Flame Princess hooked up with Finn in previous episodes, and now he's like, yeah, sure, whatever, cool. And the last episode in the decent category was the hard easy. I just found it to be a very crap, maybe not crap, but just this very ugly kind of terrible episode. It's basically just some river scamps. They ask Finn and Jake, hey, protect us from this mega frog, and the frog ends up like turning back into a human. It's human from a kiss. Bit of a parody, of course, on that old fairy tale, you know, you kiss a frog and it turns into a prince or some shit. So yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is.